So, I've been preparing the tables for my upcoming 10th edition tournament, and I think these Perspex bases have revolutionised terrain placement, and it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, today I am reviewing these Perspex bases that I got custom made for my mini tournament that's coming up very soon. Now, to be clear, this is not a sponsored video. I purchased these items myself and I paid the full price for them. I'm going to have 4 tables at my tournament, so I wanted 4 sets of these Perspex bases. Now, as you can see, they arrived really well packaged. I was very pleased with the packaging and there was no damage to the Perspex sheets at all. I got these from a company in the UK called Cut My Plastic. I will link their website in the description below. They do work in millimetres, so I had to convert the Games Workshop recommended sizes in inches to millimetres, but, well, we have Google, so that was easy to do. I'm going to put all of those converted sizes and how many of each size you need in the description, so it's all there ready for you to order yours if you want to. Now, as I was buying 4 sets, I didn't want mine to be too expensive, so I went for the really basic options. So I went for 2mm clear acrylic. They do thicker ones, but 2mm was the thinnest they do, and of course the cheapest. You do have other options as well. You could go for rounded corners, you can have polished edges. Of course, that makes them more expensive. So I went for the basic of basic options. I must admit, I was a little concerned that 2mm may be a bit too thin, but I was really pleased when I got to them because I thought 2mm was actually the perfect thickness. Not too thick that it gets in the way of the table, and not too thin that they aren't very substantial. These things are actually pretty substantial. Now, the first one that I got out I thought was quite warped, but actually when I put it on the table it was fine, and actually all of the pieces, none of them are warped. So I would recommend 2mm as a perfect thickness. Now, as you would expect, Perspex comes with a film on it to protect it from scratching. Now, the film came off pretty easily on one side. The other side was a bit harder. It had a label on it stuck on with basically all of the information. It had the batch number and the item number on there. But it did make peeling the blue stuff a lot harder to get off, and this label is actually quite big considering that half of the label is actually blank. I'd imagine they have different sized orders. Now, it's fair to say that the side with the label did come off. I was able to get it off. It wasn't a problem, but it was definitely harder to get off, especially as I have a few problems with my arms. I've got RSI in my wrist, and I've got tennis elbow as well on one of my arms, which, well, when you're having to pull quite hard to get these sides off, I must admit, especially after doing so many, it was rather annoying. A smaller label would probably make this a much less difficult job to do. Anyway, I eventually got all of these blue pieces off. I had a massive pile on the floor right next to me, and I was ready to start sorting these out. So I had 3 different sizes and I allocated them to 4 different piles. As I said, I've got 4 tables to populate for my tournament. Each table would have 6 large pieces, 2 medium pieces and 4 small pieces, as per the Games Workshop Tournament Companion. You have 4 different table setups in that companion, and they all use exactly the same amount of pieces. Okay, so now it's time to try out these pieces. So I set up my gaming table, got my computer out to have a look at the terrain maps. I opened up file 10th edition, which has all the rules in for 10th edition, and actually there's quite a lot of them already. So I found the tournament companion, opened it up, found my terrain map and set up all the pieces. And here they are all set up. Now, arguably, you could probably play a game with just these pieces on the table. No need to actually have terrain, but obviously that wouldn't look very good. It wouldn't be very thematic, but it is a possibility if you don't have terrain. However, of course, I'm not going to do that in my tournament, so I added some terrain. This is my Necron terrain, one set of my Necron terrain. I'm going to have 2 Necron boards. Table 1, Table 3 are going to be Necrons, and I've got a nice orange map for my second board, which I'll show you in a second. But as you can see, I've got the pieces down on the Perspex. I've tried to make them a similar size to the actual Perspex themselves. Now, all of the big pieces are basically going to be ruins, so if you're standing on the Perspex, you are basically standing in the ruin. Now, the 4 side sections in the middle of the board are basically going to be pipes, but everything else is going to be ruins. It's going to be nice and simple. You can see exactly where the terrain is. And I think this is fantastic, especially for an organised event where everyone can just turn up and they know exactly where the terrain is and what it does. And here is my other table setup. I've got a Mars mat with some different Necron terrain. It's nice and contrasting, which I really like. And again, I've tried to set the pieces up the best I could to the same sizes as the Perspex. Now, it's fair to say that this set of terrain that I've got has a lot of very big pieces in it, which are just too big for these pieces of Perspex. But in some ways, that's quite good, because it does mean with this particular layout that you don't need massive pieces of terrain. Medium pieces of terrain is fine, and as long as you have those Perspex things on the table, everyone knows exactly when they are in terrain or not in terrain. And again, those little Necron tombs there on the sides are going to be pipes. Now, my total order came to just over £60, and that did include a 10% discount code which you get if you spend more than £50. Now, bearing in mind that I had 4 tables worth, it's fair to say that postage is fairly expensive, but also it's not. Postage was £8.29 for my particular delivery, but to be fair, it was quite a heavy parcel, so it is sort of understandable. But overall, I was pretty happy with the price. £60 for 4 tables, that's just £15 a table. If you can gather some friends up so you can do one big order in total, as I said, if you get it over £50, you get 10% discount, and it will make that shipping not quite as expensive. But even so, if you're ordering one for yourself, £15, around £10 postage, it's going to be about £25 just for one table. But I think it is really worth it. I'm definitely going to be using these Perspex from now on in all of my games that I play. But let me know what you think in the comments box below. Now, this year's tournament is going to be a lot of fun. I've got 16 YouTubers at the tournament. I'm going to link up all of their channels in the description below. There's going to be lots of videos from the channels about the tournament, so yeah, if you want to watch those videos, then you should definitely subscribe to all of the channels, and there's some links there for the sponsors of my event as well. In the meantime, if you want to see last year's tournament video, then here it is for you to watch next.